Moreover, German scientific work is mentioned in a footnote on the same page. It says that a Hanoverian scientist had recently published a book entitled Über die Auflösung Arten durch natürliche Zugwahl, in which he shows with great ingenuity that Darwin was wholly mistaken in tracing man back to the ape. On the contrary, he maintains that it is the ape which has evolved from man. He shows that in the beginning, mankind were morally and physically the types and prototypes of our present race and of our human dignity by their beauty of form, regularity of feature, cranial development, nobility of sentiments, heroic impulses, and grandeur of ideal conception. This is a purely Brahmanic, Buddhistic, and Kabbalistic philosophy. It asserts that the gradual debasement and degradation of man, morally and physically, can be readily traced throughout the ethnological transformation down to our time. And as one portion has already degenerated into apes, so the civilized man of the present day will last, under the action of the inevitable law of necessity, be also succeeded by, descendants. If we may judge of the future by the actual present, it certainly does seem possible that so unspiritual and materialistic a body should end as simia rather than as seraphs. But though the apes descend from man, it is certainly not the fact that the human monad, which has once reached the level of humanity, ever incarnates again in the form of an animal. Of the new satanic myth is easy to trace the tradition of the dragon, and the sun is echoed in every part of the world, both in its civilized and semi-savage regions. It took rise in the whisperings about secret initiations among the profane, and was established universally through the once universal helilaterist religion. There was a time when the four parts of the world were covered with the temples sacred to the sun and the dragon. But the cult is now preserved mostly in China and the Buddhist countries fell, and the dragon being uniformly coupled together, and the priest of the Ophite religion as uniformly assuming the name of his god. In the religions of the past, it is in Egypt we have to seek for its Western origin. The Ophites adopted their rites from Hermes Trismegistus, and Heliolatrus worship crossed over with its sun gods into the land of the pharaohs from India, and the gods of Stonehenge. We recognize the divinities of Delphi and Babylon, and in those of the latter, divas of the Vedic nations. Baal and the dragon, Apollo and Python, Krishna and Kaliya, Osiris and Typhon are all one under many names, the latest of which are Michael and the Red Dragon, and Saint George and his dragon. As Michael is one as God, or his double, he for terrestrial purposes, and is one of the Elohim, the fighting angel, he is thus simply a permutation of Jehovah. Whatever the cosmic or astronomical event that first gave rise to the allegory of the War of Heaven, its earthly origin has to be sought in the temples of initiation and archaic crypts. The following are the proofs. We find A, the priests assuming the name of the gods they served. B, the dragons held throughout all antiquity as the symbols of immortality and wisdom, of secret knowledge and of eternity. And C, the hierophants of Egypt, of Babylon and India, styling themselves generally the sons of the dragon and serpents. Thus, the teachings of the secret doctrine are thereby corroborated. There were numerous catacombs in Egypt and Chaldea, some of them of a very vast extent. The most renowned of them were the subterranean crypts of Thebes and Memphis. It was there that were performed the sacred mysteries of the Kuklos and Akas, the unavoidable cycle, more generally known as the circle of necessity, the inexorable doom imposed upon every soul after the bodily death, and when it has been judged in the Emethian region. It was the belief of entire antiquity, pagan and Christian, that the earliest mankind was a race of giants. Certain excavations in America in mounds and in caves have already yielded in isolated cases groups of skeletons of 9 and 12 feet high. This belonged to tribes of the early 5th race. Now, degenerated to an average size of between 5 and 6 feet, but we can easily believe that the Titans and Cyclopes of old really belonged to the 4th Atlantean race, and that all the subsequent legends and allegories found in the Hindu Puranas and the Greek Hesiod and Homer were based on the hazy reminiscences of real Titans, men of a superhuman tremendous physical power, which enabled them to defend themselves and hold at bay the gigantic monsters of the Mesozoic and early Cenozoic times, and of actual Cyclopes, three-eyed mortals. It has been often remarked by observant writers that The origin of nearly every popular myth and legend could be traced invariably to a fact in nature. The inflectional speech, the root of the Sanskrit, very erroneously called the elder sister of the Greek, instead of its mother, was the first language. The Semitic languages are the bastard descendants of the first phonetic corruptions of the eldest children of the early Sanskrit. The occult doctrine admits of no such divisions as the Aryan and the Semite, accepting even the Turanian with ample reservations. The Semites, especially the Arabs, are later Aryans degenerate in spirituality and perfected in materiality. To these belong all the Jews and the Arabs. The former are a tribe descended from the Chandalas of India, the outcasts, many of them ex-Brahmins who sought refuge in Chaldea, in Sindh, an area, and were truly born from their father Abraham some 8,000 years BC. The latter, the Arabs, are the descendants of those Aryans, who would not go into India at the time of the dispersion of nations, some of whom remained on the borderlands thereof in Afghanistan and Kabul and along the Oxus, while others penetrated into and invaded Arabia. It is in the suddenly arrested evolution of certain sub-races and their forced and violent diversion into the purely animal line by artificial crossbreeding, truly analogous to the hybridization, which we have now learned to utilize in the vegetable and animal kingdoms, that we have to look for the origin of the anthropoids.